Stay
We are
hungry.
about to talk about the film that is our redemption of the week, or as it's also known colloquially around this podcast, was it really that bad? This film is Stay Hungry. This is 1976. It stars Jeff Bridges, Sally Field, and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So
It
effectively,
is
this should be, can you watch it without subtitles?
He's the third Bill, Dave. He doesn't have all the lines. It was directed by Bob Rafelson, who famously directed Jack Nicholson and Co. in Five Easy Pieces about 6 years before. So Jeff Bridges had his big breakout in The Last Picture Show. Sally Field was in The Flying Nuns and a couple other films, although Smokey and the Bandit would be the next year, 1977. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger was in Hercules in New York in 1970, and then somehow they decided to try to forget about that and gaslight the public by pretending like this was his first film because it said, and introducing Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I was like, nah, he's already been introduced by this point.
No,
but anyway.
technically this was the first film he entirely starred in. The original print of Hercules in New York had someone else dub the lines over the...
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah. It wasn't until later releases that they used the original dialogue.
That's clever. He also won a Golden Globe for Best Newcomer in a category that was removed because it's a weird category. The pitch,
probably because of this film.
The pitch for Stay Hungry is, what would it be like to work out in a gym with a Confederate flag? I think that's the pitch for this this film. No, the pitch for this film is so-called, that's actually, hold on, I have to start over again because that's literally the beginning of the IMDb pitch. So-called, quote, special agent, end quote, infiltrates into the gym, which is targeted by a dirty business fraud. I don't even like the grammar of this introduction to this movie. We're off to a really bad start.
The first time I saw it, I was like, wow, this is where Dodgeball got its plot from. But it's really not.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. Fuck IMDb for a second. It has a 5.6 in IMDb. So this movie is about Jeff Bridges, who is living in his parents' shadow. Also, it's a documentary. Anybody? Just kidding. His famous parents. Anyway, so Jeff Bridges, his parents died in a plane crash, and now he has literally a plantation in Birmingham, Alabama that has... It's not the most, for like 2020, as far as like the racial dynamic, I don't think we really knew what we were getting into when we chose this film. We probably should have thought more about that. But anyway, he basically lives in a house that is a very big house on a lot of land in Birmingham, Alabama, that was definitely a plantation. And he also is involved in the family business, which is apparently corporate raiding, where they go in and they try to buy out a bunch of buildings and then sell it to high rises. So his assignment is he has to go to a gym because they've bought all the businesses around the gym. And once they buy the gym, they'll own the entire block so they can demolish it and build a high rise in downtown Birmingham and sell it for commercial real estate purposes. And everybody will make a ton of money. It's also about Jeff Bridges dealing with what it's like to be the legacy in a very racist and very crude, sexist country club in Birmingham, and he gets smitten by both a girl and a guy, not sexually, I suppose, to Arnold's, but at the gym. So Sally Field is working at the gym, and he becomes romantically involved with her, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is working out because he wants to win the Mr. Olympus World Prize, which is basically a fancy way of saying the Mr. Universe Award. And so it's like a local, it's just like to the dodgeball example. That's not off the shelf. That is in play. The dodgeball reference.
It is once the movie starts. Like that goes out the window.
Instead of throwing wrenches at him, they actually throw weights at him while he's climbing up the stairs. If you can dodge a weight,
that did go through my head when that scene happened. Yeah. Because at that point, everything was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. So big pitch, especially in this time. It's definitely very Southern, and I guess it's Jeff Bridges playing with. He could be a part of old Alabama and just exploit it for money, including all like the nasty stuff going on sociopolitically, or he could be a part of the new generation of Birmingham, fighting for change and fighting for the younger man. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit. I don't know. That's what the movie's about. It's kind of fun.
Way too much credit. It's very political.
All right. I'm gonna. Since I'm in charge, apparently, let's go ahead, John. Why don't you start
All right.
So
All
we
right.
can save some of the fun.
All right, so
Dave's cracking a
think
beer
I
because he's
had-
ready to speak.
I think I had more fun watching this movie because pretty quickly I just accepted the fact this is the prequel to The Big Lebowski.
Oh,
Like,
okay. Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
this guy like becomes the dude, as he like flakes away from his privilege and just eventually, I guess he just hitchhikes west into California and just becomes the dude. Because I was like, there was
how
I
Dare
mean, if
you
you've
put these
seen-
two films in the same sentence?
I mean, come on. I feel like Jeff Bridges was definitely giving you some dude. Definitely giving you some dude.
Yeah, it was probably high as a
precursors in
fucking
this
kite to
movie.
make this movie.
I don't know.
I probably would have been too. He was in his 20s. He had already he was a star. You know.
I don't think I
Back then.
hated it as much as you did. I didn't love it or like it really, but it didn't bother me quite so much.
Best
I
review
like,
ever.
yeah, I like Bob Rafelsen's movies. They're kind of weird. I like Five Easy Pieces a lot. I think Five Easy Pieces is regarded as a great film. I think a lot of people see it and they don't like it as much as they want to. And then, so what is the next one he did right after that? The King of Marvin's Gardens.
Yeah, let's see.
With,
The director
Garfunkel,
and co-writer
Jack.
went on to such classics as Tales of Erotica, Porn.com, Wet, and the Lionel Richie music video for All Night Long.
All night long. Yeah.
There were
he
a couple
also
of others,
produced The
but for
Monkees.
comedy, I'm
He pro-
censoring them.
He produced The Monkees in the 60s.
He did.
There were a few things about it. I don't know. So yeah, I guess like with his movies in general, like I don't really think of them as whole movies. I think of them as like little sequences. So there were some sequences that I actually did like that random for no reason at all hillbilly jam sesh.
Yeah, that
That
was
guy
awesome.
who
The
was
Conrad
dancing-
Twitty origin story.
that one shot that just for just because they clearly were like that guy's a really good dancer. That one shot where Jeff Bridges is leaning against a tree and the dancing guy comes up behind him. I thought that
Yeah.
was fucking awesome. Like I really wasn't.
And the
paying
kid just
attention
starts
to why
playing
we
the
were
violin.
there.
The kid just starts playing the fiddle. Then
Yeah,
slowly
so-
but surely, everybody just shows up in the frame playing instruments. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm just dancing.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fuck you.
I know. There was. I know. There was a lot of white
it
trash
was-
stuff, but it was more endearing to me than I think it probably was. It sounds like to you, Dave. It didn't.
It
The
was
racist stuff was
more
racist,
endearing
and
to
of course
me.
that's fucked up. But it didn't bother me.
And there was
in
some
the same
sexist
way.
stuff that Jeff Bridges today he would have to sign a waiver for the shit he was doing to Sally Field. Now Sally Field is a fucking awesome actress. She's incredible in this movie. She's a great woman. But there was a lot of like grabbing and a lot of like pushy stuff that I don't know. Actors would be just hesitant to do that nowadays for sure. And so it's a visceral experience watching it, I guess is a nice way of saying it, because you can't watch it and not be like, oh my God, he literally just grabbed Sally Field and like tossed her off to the side. Like you could never get away with that anymore.
Are you talking specifically about when he comes up on her at the country club and she's
He
with
does
the
it
dancing
10
with the
times
other
during
guy?
the
A couple of
movie.
times,
He does it
yeah.
all the time.
The Screen Goblin website described this film as if Gone in the Wind and Boogie Nights had a car crash.
That's so good.
Guys, did you know Arnold Schwarzenegger played the fiddle? Because he fucking
Yes.
fiddles in this movie.
Is that real, dude?
No, it's not real at
No
all.
way.
No.
But kudos to Arnold because he got the fingering right.
Yeah, it
He
looked
wasn't
like he was
actually
doing
playing,
something with
but-
the fingering.
You know when you watch
I'm not
guitar
touching
players
that.
and you're like, come on, just fake the chords, just pretend. And like Arnold actually like pretended to finger it. You know what? Kudos to him. Kudos. He was
That's
not
what she
hired
said.
for his fiddle playing.
Yeah,
Jesus.
All right, Dave, tell us your favorite parts of this movie.
yeah,
It's
Dave,
top
go
five
off,
in
dude.
reverse
Go off.
order.
You
All
fucking
right,
Go
hated
from
strap
this movie.
5 to
yourselves
1.
in, because holy fuck, man.
Why
what-
did you hate
like,
this movie so much?
I mean, I sat there and I watched this with my wife, and can I just say, I'm sorry,
My
Therese.
wife.
Please unpack the suitcase from the door. I'm
See, I don't
sorry
even-
we watched this film.
I don't even try to show Chloe the redemption films, except for Cats. I tried.
I
We
mean,
didn't make it before.
dude, the one highlight of this film was my recognition of like, holy crap, that's Robert Englund.
Yeah.
And I was like, because Robert Englund plays a small part in this film, but
Uh-huh.
it was like, why did they suddenly make one guy sing his lines for a second and then never do it again? And like the movie starts with like, okay, there's a random horse riding scene, followed by a random driving race scene, followed by a scene where we blatantly explain the plot of the movie, which is a plot that doesn't turn up again for about a fucking hour.
Yeah, I think that's right.
and then
I
that
think
fight
that's
scene at the
true.
end is hilarious.
Nothing gels in the entire film. It starts in one place, it goes somewhere else, and I'm pretty sure they rolled
Yeah.
some dice or threw some fucking chicken bones to decide what was happening in the emotional level in the next scene.
See, I would say it really wishes it was like the conservative Jefferson Davis loving Graduate. You know, The Graduate?
I would
But,
not put that in the same sentence either.
You know, The Graduate.
Yeah, I mean, if you remove,
I mean, maybe he's not in love with the mom necessarily, but just that like I have so much money and it makes me sad kind of
but
element.
if you
that-
remove the scenes that are totally pointless, this movie would run for 17 fucking minutes.
He said he was going through a hard time. The past 2 years, he was traveling, just killing shit. He was just on a hunting trip for 2 years, and he said his life was really
I mean,
hard.
by the
That's
time, like seriously,
Jeff
by the time we got
Bridges.
to like 48 minutes in, I was ready to turn it off. Like it got borderline offensive.
wasn't Sally? It was definitely offensive. Wasn't Sally
Yeah.
Field good though?
Sally Field was good, but
She was
I mean,
wonderful.
she was also extremely taken advantage of.
Yeah, they exploited her
Yes,
quite a bit.
definitely.
I did not plan on
This
seeing
did
Sally
not
Field
sit
naked in
well-
my life.
Yeah, this did
That
not
happened.
sit
We
well
don't-
with
we
me at
see
all.
it from
Nothing in this
behind,
movie
from
sat well
behind.
with me. Like there was
That
so
was
much.
that was our Lincoln's first lady.
behind.
That was Mary Todd, the mother of our country. I did
And
not expect to
When you
see
get
that.
to an hour and 15, I'm serious, and I've never said this before on this podcast. Turn this off. Just turn
What
it
part
off.
is that?
That's just before they take the two women back to the
That was super awkward.
like it had no point being in the movie. It was ridiculously overtly sexual. It was exploitive. It was like
Yeah.
it was offensive. This whole
I actually
fucking
have no
movie
idea what they-
on some level or another and always through is fucking offensive.
I don't know what the character Newton was doing in that scene. He tied her down and then started like playing cards with her and reading her tarot, and then put her in a tanning bed while she was tied down. It was while she was in like nothing. It was really strange. Also, people
No.
aren't going to watch this and stop at an hour 15. They're just not going to watch the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely say like this movie has elements that are stereotypically racist, misogynistic, sexist, and it probably
Yeah.
should have stayed buried in obscurity.
The misogyny was really weird for me, especially knowing that it's Sally Field. And I know if I hadn't listened to a very in-depth Sally Field podcast, I would have thought her life started at Smoking the Bandit. I didn't realize she already had a 10-year career by that point, including The Flying Nuns and a bunch of other TV jobs and even some other
Flying Nun
smaller
was
movie
great.
jobs. Yeah, so she had been doing work for a long time. She was in the Actor Studio LA, so she was in the mix. Like she was a star to be. And again, as I said before, just right around where she's turning 30, so she's 10 years in the business. And Jeff Bridges is just grabbing her and throwing her, and she's not wearing a lot of clothes, and she has to flirt with guys to make him jealous, and it's like all this misogyny. And
half of it doesn't make
I-
sense.
I try to ride the line a lot in realism with history because it's like that it's historically accurate. If you're in Birmingham in the early 70s,
yeah, come on, you guys.
money
Like we can't
and
watch
country clubs,
it
it's-
like it's 2020. I mean,
No, I know, but it's
this
hard
was coming off
not
of
to.
this was
but
Yeah,
the-
I'm not going to watch Birth. I'm not
The
going to watch
thing
Birth
is,
of a
there-
Nation right
no,
now.
the thing
you know?
is, there
So
are
it's like-
there are similar themes in Taxi Driver, and they pulled them off at a point that transcends all of that.
yeah, I think so
Whereas
too.
this
I don't think
this was
movie
just
did.
blatant, and I mean the whole movie didn't make sense.
Yeah, though in Taxi Driver, he was like, I mean, they had a huge advantage that their lead protagonist was against that kind of stuff. So like, it wasn't just that it was happening in front of you. You had the safety net of feeling like Travis also was disgusted by it as much as you were as a modern audience
Hmm.
member. I will say, like, again, I'm not defending it, but like Rafelson and that crew definitely came out of like the sexual renaissance of the 60s. And I think
I mean,
True.
at
don't
that
get
time,
me wrong. Like I'm the first person to like defend it was made in that era. It was a different time, that sort of thing. Like I have taken that position on this podcast before, but this crossed the fucking line for me. It was just too
Yeah.
much.
It was
Too
so
much.
There was a
close
lot.
too because that like when people are intimate, let's say, and they are naked and in bed or whatever, it's always weird when they're just fully clothed and walking. You know, you remember that you're watching a movie, so it's a hard line to draw. Like sometimes we don't see her from the front, but Sally Field getting up and going and looking at a picture, not clothed, but you see her from behind, and yeah, maybe you see too much of her, but like at least that there's realism in that in a sense, because that would probably be more like what would happen in real life rather than the person's wearing a full nightie or you know what I mean, or like a onesie or something that is like more sensitive to the actress. So it's like it's a hard line to toy, and I think this movie is very entertaining, but that is the thing that I'm stuck with the most.
I know
Not
what you
even
mean. I
the
know what you
ending,
mean.
which is what you said before, which is all the guys from the Mr. Olympus, which is basically all the bodybuilders in Speedos in a fight in public.
They're
And they
objectified
just start
a little
flexing
bit.
on caps. It's
I mean,
yeah, no, I know,
yeah,
but
I
it's,
also
and
am
it's
not sure.
entertaining.
I'm
It is
also not
entertaining.
sure. I wasn't sure when I was watching it if we were supposed to be, because sometimes it's hard to go back in that time capsule. I wasn't sure if we were supposed to judge Jeff Bridges for how he was treating her, because he was that I was like, I thought I was supposed to. I thought I was supposed to see like this rich, privileged white guy that was trying to kind of slum it with people in this gym, specifically her and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And yet he was still the same. The way he behaved, he was very similar to those assholes who were clearly assholes in the country club. So I kind of thought we were supposed to feel that way, which is why he ultimately fails at creating any kind of real relationship with either of them.
Yeah,
So
see,
I'm not saying we were supposed to enjoy watching that, but I do think that they
I
were
didn't get
conscious
any of that
it.
nuance at all.
Really?
I
I
was just
don't know. I did
offended by
kinda think
most
that.
of this film.
I think I could see them going
I did
for
feel
it.
that. I did feel that way.
I was.
but
I'm
it was
sort
still
of
hard
on
to
board with you,
watch.
John. I'm sort of on board with you in that I was entertained at parts of this film for sure.
Like literally, the only part of this film I liked was right at the end when they're out in the street. They're like, they want us to do like poses. He's like, well, we may as well. And they
Hold
start
on, tell
posing in
me-
the street and riding
tell
on
me you
buses. And
Tell me you liked my favorite part of this movie was when the Mr. Universe Olympus. What I thought it was I thought it was Mr. Universe. I thought the actual name of the competition was
in
Mr.
real
Universe.
life, but I think in this it was Mount Olympus.
no.
'cause of
The name of the
copyright?
gym was the Olympus Gym, but the competition was Mr. Universe.
it was for Mr.
Oh, it
Universe.
still was.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh.
so when it's Arnold versus
was
the other
drinking.
guy, they have their in sequence poses.
You've been
Audience, film fans, when they're doing things in sequence together, they're mirroring each other in their
Yeah, it's
poses for
funny.
the official qualification and the judges.
Yeah.
And then they start
funny.
going off afterwards and improving on poses.
Yeah,
and the
that's funny.
announcer walks up. The announcer walks up and goes, "All right, break it up, you two." Like they're having like
Yeah.
a pose off.
Right.
That fucking killed me.
I mean,
Oh,
I
it's
actually
literally-
looked
yeah.
up a couple of things. I read some review about like it finally gets to the bodybuilding competition you were promised. I'm like, really? That's
You were promised?
you
Is
were
that what you mean?
promised? Yeah, that like.
Come on,
this-
you didn't
this
want to
was-
see Arnold take his clothes off? He's been dressing up like Batman the
Yeah,
entire
they
time.
did a
Arnold
good
had
job.
his
He was
fucking
dressed up
clothes
as
off for
Batman the
half
whole time.
Film. What are you talking about?
No, he did. They did a pretty good job of delaying it to try to keep you hanging on.
I mean,
the
scene
voiceover
where-
was tough for
what-
me. It
what-
was so southern. It sounded like an SNL sketch. It really did. The voiceover sounded like an SNL
The
sketch.
weird intro.
Also, I wrote down this note. If anybody could explain this to me, my note was, is that guy getting his taint massaged? I don't know why I write these notes and I assume I'm going to remember exactly what I was talking about. Is that guy getting his taint massaged? I'm pretty sure Thor was getting a massage and they were getting up in there for sure. And then the response is, business causes tension. I don't know what that
Jeff?
means. Those are my notes.
I know we're making fun of it, but I thought that fight at the end was like,
I'm not making
was-
fun
that
of
was
it. I
pretty fucking
fucking hated
crazy.
it.
damn, Dave really hated this movie, you guys.
Yeah, it's not the best. I also wrote the klepto scene. I don't remember what the klepto scene is, but it's funny.
Now I am very
Oh,
aware.
Jeff
too,
Bridges
Dave,
just stole a
listening-
picture
Dave-
for no reason.
Second beer
Dave,
in this
listening to
segment.
you talk about this, it's making me feel extra guilty because, as Jeff and I have admitted, I did not watch this with a woman in the room, and I feel like maybe I was a piece of shit because I didn't judge this as hard as I should
I
have.
mean, it's sad we're not recording this because at one point I looked around to my wife and she just literally had the O face. It was like her mouth was
Yeah.
wide open. She was like,
She was like,
"What the fuck is happening?"
Now, let me
Yeah.
just give you a little snapshot of Bob Rafelson. And again, I can't tell if this is the Times. This is Ellen Bernstein telling this story. So in The King of Marvin's Gardens, she turned 40 when they were making it, and she was distraught, and she was having like this terrible day. So to cheer her up, Bob Rafelson and Jack Nicholson went to her hotel room, knocked on the door. She opened the door, and they were standing there completely naked with a birthday cake, and she thought
Yeah,
it was
fair.
hilarious. And
Yeah.
she had them in, and they got drunk, and they had a fun time, and they all got naked, and she's like hung out and stuff. So I don't know if things sometimes, looking back, I can't tell if like, is this weird? Did Sally Field feel super uncomfortable and women in that time period always felt super uncomfortable?
I don't
Or-
think
or
Sally
am
Field
I-
did feel super uncomfortable, but like again, like I said, I'm watching this as a modern audience now.
Right. That doesn't make it okay.
And-
No, you're right.
And
You're
it,
right.
like
Yeah.
this entire film is not fucking okay with me at all.
Right. For me, it wasn't the demeanor; it was the grabbiness of it. It was just very handsy.
It's like it's the grabbiness, it's the random scenes, it's the fact that like you don't like people are reacting differently from one scene to another, and it's like fucking make up your mind. How are they going to react?
No, you're totally
this
right.
film
It's
was
funny
a
that you're saying that though
mess.
with the grabbiness because I think I was out of this whole week. I think I was the most uncomfortable when De Niro wouldn't let Sybil Shepherd leave the theater and he kept grabbing her.
Yeah.
And trying to, like,
Oh,
you have to
yeah,
talk
yeah.
to me. You have to talk to me. I think that offended me more than this movie did, just because I wasn't taking it as seriously. But I hear you guys. You're totally right. This movie is definitely made by erect
Right.
penises.
Yeah, Oh my
I,
God.
like it takes a lot for me to say don't watch a movie, but I'm seriously saying do not watch this fucking movie.
I think everybody who's been listening to this segment for the last 20 minutes knows to not watch this movie. And also, but here, the big takeaway, if you've made it this far, if you're in a gym and there's a Confederate flag, I don't care if it's the 70s or 2080, get the fuck out of there. Why are
get
they
the
working
fuck
out
out
at
of
this
there.
Yeah,
Confederate
you're
flag
gonna
gym?
get some weights thrown at you at some point.
Get out of there. Get out. Get out. Oh
Yeah,
my
that was
gosh.
fucked
Also,
up.
that
That was
country
super
club
fucked
it
up.
does
But-
not look fun.
Realistic as well. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, I'm with you on that for sure. All right. Well, you know what? We've done all we could for this film. That's not true. We didn't do all we could.
Yeah,
for
we
this
didn't
film.
burn it.
Just
We really didn't even
you're
try.
welcome, audience.